Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to The Collision. As you can see, I'm running solo today. I got no one else with me at the table. Even Sam Camp, who usually runs the behind the scenes for The Collision, is out of town. So it's just me and you to talk about what I'm pretty sure for most of us was our most anticipated film this November, featuring an animated kids movie about snow and ice. No, I'm not talking about Frozen 2. I'm talking about Arctic Dogs, a film that features the animated fox take on an evil cyborg walrus in order to prevent global warming. No, that is not a joke. So let's talk about it. So Arctic Dogs, where to begin with talking about this movie? I'm guessing this isn't a movie that a lot of people were just, there weren't lines outside the theater in anticipation for Arctic Dogs. Maybe outside of some kind of recognizable names in the voice talent. Probably the most notable being Jeremy Renner of kind of MCU fame. Kind of beyond that, there's not a whole lot of buzz, if any, for this movie. It's just sort of another kids movie that just showed up in theaters, kind of just to kill the time until Frozen 2 comes at the end of this month. And just to, I guess, to cut straight to the point. In the end, this is as you might have guessed. Maybe it's not a surprise. This is not a good movie. It's not a bad movie in the same sense that an Angry Birds 2 was. That just infuriated me. There's nothing necessarily offensive about this movie. In fact, to maybe start with one of the few positives about the movie is that it's actually, compared to a lot of kids' movies, this is not an obnoxious movie. The characters don't speak in real annoying, kind of grating voices. They're not yelling all the time. The film isn't throwing visuals and hyper and kind of like candy at kids. It doesn't do any of the kind of the things that kind of stereotypically drive parents crazy as they're sitting in the theater. So it's not bad in that sense, but it's just bad from a storytelling perspective. That this movie it doesn't reinvent the wheel in any way. If you've seen kind of any kids movie in the last 10 years, you'll know exactly what's going to happen in this story. It's kind of pulling from a lot of different movies. Probably the one that it made me think of the most is, if you remember the Will Smith movie, A Shark's Tale. It's kind of a guilty pleasure of mine. It tells a lot of that same story, but what it lacks is kind of that Will Smith charisma, the energy of the movie. The whole movie just feels very slow, and it's almost tediously boring. So the storyline, if you've seen the trailers, you have Swifty. He's an Arctic fox. His white fur in a snowy habitat kind of means that he's physically invisible, and this leads to him just sort of feeling kind of figuratively invisible, and this sort of desperate to get attention, to get fame, to get recognized. And his dream is to be what the film is top dogs, which are dogs that pull sleds, and they're basically like Amazon delivery prime trucks. They deliver all the packages, and all the townspeople cheer for them, and they're kind of the heroes. Which didn't fully make sense to me why the mailmen are these rock stars in this movie. But so he kind of idolizes that, but as a small husky, he just physically he can't pull this sleigh. He can't kind of do what's required to get that kind of fame. And again, if you've seen any kids movies, eventually he'll get the status that he wanted, only to discover that it didn't truly make him happy, and that what was important were the friends he had all along that were always in front of him, that he had neglected or not appreciated. So it's not reinventing the wheel in any way, but it's not making a very appealing wheel. It kind of takes the bare bones of all these other kids stories, but it doesn't give it the same kind of heart or emotional thrust that kind of the more successful movies, kids movies do. As far as the main theme, it's kind of the learning to accept who we are, kind of to appreciate the people in our lives, to not just sort of glamorize or kind of look to the stars and popularity and fame and fortune, that these things are temporary and they don't really satisfy. And again, there's a reason that kids movies always kind of fall back on this theme, and it's not a bad theme by any means. For a kids movie to explore. The problem with Arctic Dogs is that it wastes so much time on just sort of meandering through this story that when it actually kind of gets to the message of the film, it just sort of happens like this. There's, you know, in literally two scenes, the Swifty, the main character, Arctic Fox, kind of completes his whole character arc. He achieves his fame or his position to be a top dog once the other top dogs are kidnapped. And he has his first kind of day delivering all the mail. He does well. Everyone's cheering at this party, celebrating. He goes to sleep. He wakes up the next day, the next scene, and he's downcast. He's weary from the attention. There's people from the town, other animals that want his autograph and to take pictures, and with him, take selfies. And he gets short with them and pushes them away. And it's like they're trying to tell this sort of this. They're trying to make a point about this is such an empty life that these things don't really satisfy the way he thought he would. But the film, because it wastes so much time, it kind of puts it on the fast track that you never really see him experience what it's like to be on top, to get his dreams. It's like he achieves it, and then right away it makes him miserable, and then about 15 minutes later he's learned that he needs to that this other fox that he loves, that she was what really mattered all along, and that kind of, in a lot of ways, is the problem with the movie overall. Is that I think this movie kind of feels like it's making profound, kind of important messages, just on the basis of what the conclusion is, what kind of the destination is, but because it skips over and does such a kind of a sloppy job with the journey to get there, that there's really no payoff when it actually happens. And I think as a parent and as someone looking at stories, I think it's kind of how the characters learn their lessons are probably more important than the lessons that they actually learn. That's the kids don't as a father, kids don't just learn by telling them, hey, you need to be selfless and share, because that's what really matters. The way kids learn is by seeing characters that are selfish and how they have to overcome that, and kind of the benefit that happens, and the kind of the happiness and what they can accomplish when they do overcome their selfishness and start working together. And that's where the real power, kind of the power of a kid's film comes in, and kind of the teaching portion of it. And Arctic Dog is this kind of, because it skips over that, it just ends up being kind of it's just telling you what to do rather than making you feel it. But again, yeah, if you are taking your kids, though, drink a strong cup of coffee ahead of time, just to stay awake through this one, because it's, in a lot of ways, and I don't know the behind the scenes with this, but I'm shocked that this movie hit theaters, and that this movie to me just screams out Netflix or Hulu, or just sort of throw it on a streaming service. You can watch a bit of it, probably won't finish it, but it's definitely not worth spending the money to get popcorn and take your kids to the theaters. But hey, if you do see it, if your kids drag you to it, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Again, I saw this movie. Most of these kids movies I review, I try and take my kids with me to get their perspective. This one, I took the hit. I saw it solo. So again, I'm not the target audience. So if you do take your kids, jump into the comment section. Let me know what they thought. Maybe they'll enjoy it more than I think they will. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And again, if you haven't done so, we'd love for you to subscribe to our channel. Hit the subscribe button. We've been going for just over a month now, and we've been blown away by the positive response we've had to this channel. A lot of you guys have followed us over from our website, thecollision.org. Some of you we've met for the first time here on YouTube. So we want to thank you for kind of jumping on board. This is a new kind of fun adventure for us, and we're glad for you to come along with us on this journey to talk about these films, even the bad ones. It's fun to talk about. So again, if you see it, jump into the comment section. And I want to thank you for watching, and I hope you will continue to collide with your world for Christ.